Hi everyone, welcome to Module 6. In this module, I want to talk to you about using mentor texts. So mentor texts are sort of models or examples that we use to help encourage our own writing. When you're first learning to read, you often imitate the words that you see or try to memorize things. It's the same way with mentor text when you're first learning to write or learning to write well. We copy the style of other writers, and this helps us to establish our own voice. When students are able to copy writers, then they understand audience better. If they're, as we talked about previously, if they're writing like a scientist and they don't really understand what the audience for a scientist might be, when they can see someone else's way of writing, then they have a better sense of it. Mentor texts act as models for good writing. If they're published, for the most part, we know that it's probably a pretty good piece of writing, so we can use it to imitate and feel confident that it's not terrible. They also help to scaffold the writing process, and what I mean by that is that if you imitate someone in the beginning, then gradually you can remove the scaffolds, like the scaffolds around a building, and slowly establish your own way of writing. Imitating allows you a safety zone. It allows you a formula, a sort of framework that you can copy and then gradually branch out on your own as you feel safe. So in terms of establishing voice in connection to disciplinary literacy and the types of writing that you might want your students to do, you can think about books that might be in your content area or trade journals. There's also specific internet sites that can act as great mentor texts, like this one, Time for Kids. I'll show you what this looks like if you're not aware of it. This is a wonderful site. It discusses current events. So today happens to be the day after the University of North Carolina won the national championship, and then also the University of South Carolina won the women's NCAA national championship. So students can read about this, and the way the language is phrased can help them understand what's required. So if I want to write like someone who is familiar with sports, write like a sports expert for a sports audience, then I can read this article, "The hockey rink has become the latest battleground for equality in the workplace," and so on. And then I might imitate it and use it as a mentor text. So mentor texts, according to, there's an actual website that is specifically keyed toward using mentor texts, and it says they are any texts that you can learn from, and every writer, no matter how skilled you are or how beginning you are, encounters and reads something that can lift and inform and infuse their own writing. I'd say that anything you can learn from, not by talking about, but just looking at the actual writing itself being used in a really skillful and powerful way. This can all be helpful in figuring out what good writing looks like. So here's an example for you. You may be familiar with this children's book. It's called Diary of a Wimpy Kid by Jeff Kinney. Been extremely popular. There's several other iterations of this, but within this book he has a certain way of writing, and he uses cartoons. So it's kind of part graphic novel. You can see here it says a novel in cartoons, and part writing. So this teacher used the Diary of a Wimpy Kid as a mentor text, and he wrote a story and hung it on his classroom door. And he included cartoons that look similar to the ones that Jeff Kinney draws in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So this became his mentor text for his writing. So mentor texts are really important They help students a lot. Imitating other writers is actually a great idea.